All right, Coach. At this juncture, what are you looking for and evaluating right now before this team hits the floor for real?
It's just what we've done, the knowledge, guys knowing exactly what we want to do. We only have probably 30 to 35% of everything we want to do, both offensively and defensively. And this week we've tried to add a few things for this game, and really, hopefully we can do what we've worked on. And we know already that there's going to be some areas that we're going to need to improve on or work on just simply because we haven't gone over it enough. But there's some basic things on defense, trying to protect the paint, keep guys out of the paint, trying to rebound the basketball. Offensively, trying to see can we get in transition. It's our first kind of change of trying to get up and down the floor a little bit. And to do that, you have to rebound. So, like I said, there's 2 or 3 things that we've worked on a lot that I would like, hopefully, be able to execute.
How would you quantify the growth of players in the second year of the program as opposed to last year?
Oh, wow. I mean, I think we've got some guys that really have grown. I think we've got some guys that took another step. I mean, I've been pleased with many of our guys because, as I've stated and continue to state, this may be the hardest working team in the off season that I've ever coached. So when you see improvement, whether that's Justin Davis, in the weight room, Greg Lee, who I think has gotten better both in the weight room and on the court, to, I think Jarkel is really slowed his pace of the game down. I think he's a guy that we can depend on, could be a little bit more consistent in his scoring. I think Justin McCall is, a guy that made a big jump. So, when I can continue to go down the line, but those guys, you start to looking at them and you start saying, this guy is different than he was. And I think people will see that just by their presence. When you look at them, they're bigger and stronger, and they're practicing with that level of intensity that we really need. And then we have guys as, I think that didn't get to the floor, like Darren Person, who I think has a chance to be really, really good. Well, obviously there's a big gap in between them in the sense of knowing what it takes every day, day in and day out. And so to see that as a coach, you can see a big difference in a guy actually being here, playing for 1 year, and then another guy that was here, but he didn't get a chance to play.
To the untrained eye, how's this team going to be different for better or worse? How's it going to be different from last year's team?
I think this team will be different because I think you'll see different guys on different nights that are able to step up and score, play big roles. I thought last year, I thought we had Jarkel ended up, finishing in double figures, but he had some really good games. He had some games that weren't so good. So I think this team, you'll start to see guys as Darius Williams, who people don't know much about, or Kevin McNeil, who people don't know much about, that you'll start seeing those guys play a bigger role, from night in, night out. I think our versatility of the type of way that we could play would be different than last year. I mean, last year we got to the point that we needed Motez every night in a situation of inside guy, and because we don't have that presence, you could see a combination of a smaller lineup and just different in that way. I also think, this is a better shooting team than last year's team just because of the work that our guys have put in. Even though the blue gold scrimmage was not a live scrimmage, you could tell that there's guys that have been in the gym and worked just by the confidence that they shot the ball with the night, and they've been doing that in practice. So it wasn't a surprise to our coaches to see that, but when you watch the way Greg shot the ball, Justin Davis shot it good last year, and he could continue to do that, but you start seeing guys shoot the ball better, and I think we'll be a better shooting team. I think our concerns, talking about from last year, I thought when people, got to the basket, I thought Motez was obviously a factor. I thought people had to be aware, find him, know where he was at all the time. I'm not sure that people will be as concerned with that, and hopefully, whether we get more athletic guys to block shots because of backside help, or whether we take charges and our rotation is good, but I think that'll be an obvious difference when someone come to the game to see us.
And how do you approach Saturday in terms of coaching and the way you're going to run substitutions? Like, is it more of it's an exhibition game, so you run more like a practice or a real game in terms of?
We'll run it more like a real game, in the sense of, I mean, obviously we always want to win, but we'll use what we do as far as the rotation and trying to keep the right guys with the right guys is the way we feel like it, but we'll go deep into our bench. Like, we won't be where we would be 2 weeks from now, where, it's a real game. That's what you want to call it, in a sense. It's a game that counts, regular season game, where you may see us play 8 guys and they play the majority of the minutes. That won't happen against Long Beach. And what I mean by we'll be playing it as a game, like, we're going to have our point guard with wings, with forwards that we feel like fit, trying to play our best at that particular point. But as I told our players, we'll be deep in our bench. Our biggest thing coming from this is, first of all, hopefully we raise some money, because that's the purpose of us playing the game. Our second objective is that we get better as a team. And that doesn't mean that maybe Jarkel or maybe Rick gets better, but it may be that Darren Person and Justin McCall get better. And the way they may get better is playing more than those other guys. So it's really a different approach, than you would say a regular season game, because we're probably going to see some substitutions early, and probably we'll see some that may be different. Where in a regular season game, Ricky Holder may come out and, first 5, 6 shots may be good shots, and you keep them in the game. Well, that won't be the case this weekend. This weekend we'll have a rotation, and we'll rotate guys in and out, and we'll do that regardless of what the score is, and that's a big difference. And so we're playing to win, but the objective is we're playing, priority being that we get better. When we come out of this game Saturday, next Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we should have enough footage or enough film on each guy, hopefully, that we know what we'll have moving forward.
And you mentioned Justin McCall earlier. I think last season probably showcased his defensive skill set a little bit more than his offensive.
Right.
But, what have you seen from him in this preseason and what he's developed from last year?
He's probably improved offensively, maybe more than any other player. Maybe Greg Lee, because I think Greg is playing really well right now, and hopefully that'll carry on to the game. In our scrimmages, Greg has really shot the ball well from the 3 and really scored pretty well inside. But probably Justin has probably made the biggest jump offensively from just the scrimmages that we've had against each other. If that carries on, hopefully it translate, then people will see that his game is much improved. He shoots it better, he drives it better. I just think, and he, we talked about this, it's just one of those players that, at some point he's going to get there. And I felt like they're taking all of these guys. I felt like Justin Davis probably made the biggest jump earlier. I think Greg probably made the biggest jump as far as maybe in the off season and improving from where he was. And then I think Justin McCall has probably improved his offense as much as anyone on our team.
Is Damian going to be in the lineup on Saturday?
No. Damian is dealing with some things, and we got to make sure we handle it properly. Yeah.
Coach, you mentioned it a little bit before, raising money for the California wildlife fires. This is your second year taking part in a game that goes to that benefit. Why is that important for you and your team to be involved with that kind of thing?
Well, I just think, we've always, as a program, I've always felt as a head coach, we always have to feel a responsibility, you know, to our university, to our community, to our state, you know, to this nation, you know, because I think we're a small part in this big world that we deal in, but, you know, we can give back. And, you know, as I looked, and many people that are in this state dealt with the firefighters and the fires that was going on, so I realized that we have people that are risking their lives. We have people that are spending a lot of time away from their families. There's a lot of, you know, things that have happened as far as disaster in the state of California. And so it's important, I think, to our players to know that it's important that we give back and be a service to our communities, and again, representative of this university, of our program. If I can keep that at the forefront of their minds, I think as they grow as men, they'll feel that same way. That I can remember when we did this, or the reason why we did this, and whether it's community service and giving back to our kids in the community, whether it's on campus and going to other functions, or even supporting our other student athletes. We're more than just athletes. We're more than just basketball players, and I think you have to do these type of things even in the sense of helping our young men grow to live a holistic kind of life. If it's always take, and it's never given back, then I think your life finds out to be kind of upside down. So I think this humbles our guys to know that they're doing this. I think it's something that we can feel really good about, that we sacrifice, if you want to say, an exhibition game that against someone, and all the proceeds go, and they understand that. And to me, that's important, you know, and we talked about that. You know, maybe some of these guys will be firefighters, or who they may marry, that they may be firefighters, or they may be part of someone that's helping to restore someone's life because of what the fires have caused. So we've got to get to things outside of just playing basketball and worrying about, you know, our careers, when there's people around us that need our support. And if this is a way that we can support that'll be meaningful to someone, and we think it will be, then we want to participate.
Back on the floor for a moment, whether it's a newcomer or a redshirt who didn't play last year, who do you see who could be an impact player and why?
Taze Moore is probably the guy that's head of everyone, mainly because he's probably been here. But I think we have a lot of guys that could kind of be in that kind of category. But I think he's the lead guy. He was around when we went to the NIT, and he's been around a while. He's been around me, so he knows what's a little bit more than some of the other guys. He's seen me coach and how we've gone about it. He and I already had a really close relationship, so he's really worked his way back. But just he has, you know, he's probably the most gifted guy on our team. He's probably the guy that can do every phase of the game as well as anyone else on our team. And we're going to bring him along slow in a sense, because it's been, I think it was reported, 614 days since he's been to the floor. So we're not going to try to play him 30 minutes against Long Beach this weekend, but I think he's the guy that you might come December be like, man, this guy here is really, he's got a chance to be really special.
And how about as far as maybe like a leader on this team, a guy who can, when things aren't going well, he's going to be the guy that rallies the troops. Anybody in particular?
Well, probably, and it's kind of, in a sense, probably a little bit more, I shouldn't say interesting. I guess as a dad, you kind of don't like to brag about your son, but Bray is probably the one that is probably as vocal, probably because he knows, but also he's the one that is understanding what it means to be on the bench or play a little bit and not play a little bit. He's been through the highest points in our program, but also he's been through some very low points in our program. But he is the one that's probably, by speaking and encouraging and correcting our guys, is probably taking more of their leadership role. James Subert is probably the most versatile guy out of the group, but probably from person number 1 to person number 15, Bray is probably the one that is probably the way we want to be. And what I mean by that, he's probably the more level one to understand that we made a great run a couple of years ago, but we were struggling early in the year. So I think he gets that, and he tries to explain that to our players.
Bringing Tajay on the NIT trip when he was hurt, was that important to you, like getting him to be able to experience that even though he wasn't exactly playing on the floor?
It was. I mean, I think it's big. I think it's huge. You know, when you go through a season and you get to the end of the season and it's postseason play there, and for him to go with us during that trip, early on, we didn't take him on a lot of the trips because of his injury, but to take him on that trip because we wanted to hopefully get one day to he could be where he is today. And that's to be able to tell Darren and be able to tell Carterell, be able to tell some of these guys, hey, man, that was a great experience, and the town went crazy. We want that again. And that's one of my biggest concerns with this team. We don't have a lot of those guys. You know, we don't have a lot of guys that have those experiences. That's why I just mentioned about my son. He understands and he's experienced going to the NCAA tournament and going to the NIT. So he becomes very important to us to keep our guys level-headed at it's a process to get to those places, and what we have to do to get to those, he could explain that to them. And a lot of times players can somehow get to players a whole lot faster than coaches can get to players. So Tajay will bring that to us. He's a competitor and fiery guy. He'll be different than most of the people that we've probably had playing, in a sense of just his attitude and his approach to compete, you know. So I'm looking forward to seeing that, and hopefully it balances with some of these other low-key guys we got.
All right, Coach Barnes, thank you for your time today.
Thank you, guys. Always.
Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.